Hello, everybody. It's JJ Conway. I am so excited to be on with you all today. We are going to be talking about one of my favorite topics in real estate. One of my favorite ways to buy a house, and that is with creative financing. If you've ever felt like you don't have enough time in your life to save up to buy a house, if you feel like your credit is too bad that you'll never be able to invest in real estate and leave a legacy for your kids, well, I'm here to tell you today it is absolutely possible when you implement the creative financing strategies that we are going to talk about tonight. All right. Before we get started real good, I just want to let you know that if you have a question about the content today, there's a couple different ways you can ask your questions. The first way is by, let me put my phone on, y'all, is by doing the free conference call. If you are listening on free conference call, let me tell you the other ways first. In fact, let me put the banner on. Okay. If you want to ask a question and you don't mind it being a comment on YouTube or Facebook, however you're watching, we're streaming to seven different platforms. If you are okay with that, drop your question in the comments. That's going to be the fastest way to get me your comments. Okay. The next way to get your comments is if you don't want to have your name attached, you want it to be anonymous. You've made some real estate mistakes. You've made some business mistakes. You've made some personal mistakes, like, let some smooth talking man take all your investments for, everything you saved up your whole life for. Yes, I did that. I did that in my 30s. I handed it all over to my ex-husband. Yes. So sometimes we make mistakes. And maybe don't want to ask that question out loud. Go ahead and go to askjjc.com, and it'll take you to a Google form that you can use to. Honestly, I'll check those from time to time. Okay, I'll check those from time to time. And as we're able to, I'll answer those questions. But the fastest way to ask a question is to drop it in the chat. Hey, I'm so glad to see some wonderful, powerful men and women here who are doing what they can to change lives. I'm just so very excited that you all are on today. It means a lot to me, and I believe that we are gonna touch and agree that these techniques we're using tonight are gonna help people change their lives. See, I'm not doing what I'm doing just to make money. Ain't nothing wrong with making money, because if I'm not making money, I'm not doing what I'm doing. I'm spending time with my family and I'm having fun serving the Lord, right? But I'm not just about making money tonight. I'm also about changing lives and changing communities. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about that here in a second. But if you have dialed into the free conference call, you should be able to hear me just fine. If you can't, send me a text or something, or put your hand up. You can do that by pushing *6. And then depending on your carrier, you would also do 1. So *6 for some phone carriers, *61 for others. That is how you raise your hand. When I see your hand is open in the queue, then when I see your hand is raised in the queue,
session has started,
which I just started, so now you can actually do it, then you will be able to ask your questions. Okay, so that's the 3 ways that we're asking questions today. All right, now I just want to, hey, how you doing today? I'm so glad you're on. Look, if you got questions about creative financing for real estate, go ahead and drop them in the chat. You can go to askjjc.com and fill out that Google form, or you can also, if you're listening on the phone, you can do *6 and then 1 to ask your question. Now, I got to start doing this, y'all, because as a financial planner who strives to be professional, as a fiduciary fee-only financial planner, which means when you engage me and you bring me onto your team, you exchange your money for my time and your money for my expertise in your financial situation, then I become your financial planner. Okay, everything that we do tonight, this is my start using. Everything we do for tonight is for educational purposes only. It does not constitute the providing of financial services, nor is it intended to be a substitute for independent professional financial judgment, advice, or analysis. I can give you a very high level answer, but without digging into your situation that I would as I am your financial planner, then I could dig into it. But we can't do that here, okay? So while I strive to make the information I provide as timely and accurate as possible, all information is subject to change with new research and in response to constant changes in economic developments. And further, I do not warrant or assume any legal liability, make claims, promises, guarantees about the accuracy, completeness, usefulness, or adequacy of the content presented for your situation, and expressly disclaim any liability for errors or omissions herein. All right. We all know I'm a little bit crazy. So if I say the wrong thing, don't you sue me. I'm telling you, you need to run it by your own professional counsel. Okay, so what are we talking about today? We're going to be talking about creative financing. And so like we do with every real estate class, which is what we do every third Thursday, I always like to start off with a little bit of foundation. So let me go ahead and pull up the slides that we will be starting off with. A little bit of foundation. This series is part of my Real Estate Investing 101. Y'all like that new branding? Let me know how you like that new branding. I'm like so in love with this new branding, probably because it's the first time in a long time I've enjoyed a picture of me, y'all. I was so nervous to go on this photo shoot because of all the extra weight I put on since retiring from the military, on top of the weight I put on from the car accident, on top of the weight I put on for the baby being born in my 40s that I wasn't planning on. So sometimes, look, sometimes we're just not happy with the situation, but we have to learn how to be confident and happy with the situation we're in. Then we can move to a higher level. I hope you feel that today. All right. So this is our new branding. We're going to be talking about, this is part of my Real Estate Investing 101. Every third Thursday, we have been talking about a different topic in real estate investing. And I know that I rebroadcast creative financing when I was out of town and I couldn't get the connection to work. So I went and grabbed an old one and went ahead and broadcast that for you. But today we're going to be live so you can get your questions answered, okay? You can get your questions answered by dropping your questions in the chat, or by doing *61 if you're listening on free conference call, or using the form at Ask JJC. And let me see if I can put this so y'all can see me. Let me see if I can do the picture-in-picture. We'll try that. All right. So a couple things. I'm going to talk a little bit about admin. I am going to talk about building wealth together, who we are. Some of y'all, I see you in the chat. I see you in sending me messages. You have been sitting through these classes for a couple of years now. You already know the first part of what I'm going to say, but I'm going to say it anyway. Why? Because of two reasons. One, we got a lot of new folks joining us every time we broadcast. And two, when you hear something that you've heard before, now you're at a higher level. You're at a higher level of awareness. You're at a higher level of engagement. You're at a higher level of understanding. Hopefully, you're at a higher level of experience in that thing. And so even though it's the same thing you've been hearing at the beginning of every real estate class that JJ Cardway teaches for the last 7 years, 8 years now, going on 9 years, it still should bring life and add value, okay? But especially for our new folks, we just kind of want to give an overview of what we're doing. All right. So here's what we're doing. We are going to talk about the group. I'm going to give you guys some promises. I'm going to talk about creative financing, and then I'm going to give you an opportunity to dig deeper and possibly earn while you learn. Okay. Admin notes before I begin. First of all, I want to give a shout out to Faith and her TSM Ministries. They just became a new sponsor for Global Youth Initiative, and I really appreciate that. This is our Global Youth Initiative fundraiser, okay? So if you're screenshotting the slides, if you're getting blessed by this content, if you're grabbing 3 or 4 friends and saying, hey, y'all need to come and be on this, come on and send me a little something to PayPal, bit.ly/lovehelping, or Cash App. PayPal and Cash App, it's Queen of Cash Flow. That'll get it to me. Make sure you put your information, put GYI in the notes, and I will get that, okay? Again, I think I already told you how to ask questions, and if you're watching me, it's scrolling down at the bottom of the screen. All right. So what is building wealth together? Well, one thing we aren't is we're not get rich quick. There are a lot of ways to get rich in this world. We are dedicated to empowering people to get what they are looking to get out of life by education, ethics, and accountability. We offer the investment, the financial, the entrepreneurial education. You put it to work and you reap the benefits. All right. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to give you two promises. I'm going to give you two promises today. I'm going to teach you skills that you can put into practice tonight and start doing your research and start actually making something happen tonight. And then at the end, I'm going to give you the opportunity to learn more. Would everybody like an opportunity to learn more? If you want an opportunity to learn more, go ahead and drop a me in the chat. So I know that you want an opportunity to learn more about how to buy property without taking on more debt. These, again, this is our Global Youth Initiative fundraiser. I probably should have combined those slides. I do now run two Global Youth Initiatives. So Global Youth Initiative of Northwest Louisiana that I've been doing for the last 6 years now. And then we have Global Youth Initiative of Erath County, which started last year. We had our second one this past April. It was phenomenal. And again, it's PayPal or Cash App is Queen of Cash Flow, or you can go to bit.ly/lovehelping, all lowercase. Now, if you are new to me and my body of work, let me tell you who I am. My name is JJ Conway, and I'm a regular person who makes a lot of money mistakes, just like some of you today. I know. We probably got somebody on who's super perfect, did everything right. You know, when I went through financial coach training, I had been financial coaching for a long time, but when I wanted to get paid for it instead of volunteering all the time, I went through training, and there was a guy with me, and he's like, I don't know how to connect with people because I've never made any money mistakes. I saved and I invested, and I'm independently wealthy in my 30s, and I just don't know how to connect with people. And I was like, well, surely you've made a mistake somewhere in your life. Nope, I haven't had any bad relationships. I haven't had this. I haven't had that. I said, well, you're 30 and you're not married. So at least speak from the fact that things don't always work out the way you want. And maybe that way you can connect with people. I was like, I don't know what to tell you, but I can tell you I've been through a thing or two when it comes to money. I have made so many money mistakes. And I'm so hard-headed. I try to be hard-headed. Sometimes I shouldn't say that. I need a better word. Somebody who's good with words, break out your thesaurus and give me a better word. Because you know how we say she's not bossy, she's a leader. Well, sometimes I don't think I'm hard-headed so much as I'm committed. I'm not stubborn. I'm just loyal. How about that? Can we just say that today? I'm not stubborn. I'm loyal. But sometimes I gotta repeat the lesson a couple times before I finally get it through my thick skull. And so I've had a couple issues. We started off in real estate investing and lost everything because what we had done was what they teach you on TV. And I'm not saying the stuff they teach you on TV doesn't work, y'all. It works for a lot of people. I know a lot of people who've made millions in real estate doing what they teach you on TV. But as a financial planner, let me tell you something. As a financial planner, I know more people who've lost everything and who have gone bankrupt buying properties the way they teach you in them hotel rooms and in them back seminars. All right. So what we're going to teach you today is not the only way, but it is a way that works. Let me tell you why I do what I do. These are my two little guys. I shouldn't say little guys anymore. This big one's practically a young man now. But one of the reasons that I started doing what I did is because I had made up in my mind I was never going to be homeless again. I was never going to have to find accommodations in a moldy basement apartment with no bed for my kid to sleep in again. I was never going to have to sleep in another Walmart parking lot again. You can't even sleep in Walmart parking lots anymore. I got to revise my list of places you can sleep without having a house. Right? Like, you can't even do that anymore because most of them are closed overnight. But I had made up in my mind when this big guy was just 3 years old is when we got the divorce. And as I pulled myself out of that situation, I made up my mind that me and these kids, well, this kid, and then when the other one came along, was never going to have to live off of people's free will, people's fellowship food, free samples. I was never, ever, ever, and I want you to hear me on this because some of you have had a struggle and you've had a never again moment. And that never again moment, it has the possibility and the potential to change your life if you let it. And my never again moment was running into that old couple in the Whole Foods, and they were doing the same thing I was doing. Now I was in a little better financial situation than them, but free samples was still a significant part of my food budget back then. And this retired couple, probably in their 80s, that was their entire meal for the day. And I said, never again am I gonna have to do this. And when things get tough for you and you don't know how you're going to make it work, and you don't know how you're going to get this business off the ground, you don't know how you're going to get this ministry off the ground, you don't know how you're going to fix this relationship, you don't know how you're going to rear these children, you don't know what to do, and nobody seems to be in your corner, I want you to reach back to that never again moment and let it fuel you to change your future, because it can. Now, by the time the little one came along, I was no longer worried about being hungry. Things weren't great. Things weren't perfect. I was still in a significant amount of debt when he came along, but I was on a trajectory. Sometimes all you need to know is that you are on a trajectory, y'all. And I was on a trajectory, and I knew that everything was going to be all right. See, when you learn the things that I'm teaching you, when you learn the things I'm teaching you, I know they're not necessarily sexy. They're not woo and ah. There's no fireworks going off half the time. But I'm going to tell you something. I'm not worried about losing my job. I'm not worried about losing my house. I pray to God that he does not make me go through that kind of a season ever, ever, ever again. But if he calls me, I am not worried about how will I be provided for. I know that the Lord will provide, and I know that the Lord has equipped me. Now, those of you who are biblical scholars, you might remember that back in biblical times, everybody who was somebody in the Jewish faith had not only their profession, their service profession, their professional realm that they might be in, their teacher, preacher, whatever that, but they also had a trade. So when they went around from town to town, if something happened with the profession, they could fall back on the trade, make themselves some money, and be able to cobble a life together and not have to be begging on the streets. Well, the Lord has given me, not only has he given me a calling, but he's given me a voice. He's given me ability to teach. So I'm not worried about going broke. Something happens, I pray it never happens. But if something happens, the Lord has given me a precious gift and a precious light, and that light can't be dimmed. And you have something precious that needs to be shared with the world. And my hope today is that investing in real estate is going to give you the breathing room that you need to uncover, if you haven't already, uncover what that beautiful gift is. Because when I was running around town hanging up all them Avon bags, because every time I hang up an Avon bag, I at least profit $100 to $200. And when I was running to this consignment shop and running to this yard sale, because every time I did that, I'd profit, $300 to $500. When I was doing all of that effort, I didn't have time. I didn't have space. I didn't have any energy left at the end of the day to dream. All I had was exhaustion, but I was doing everything I knew how to do. And when I began to see, hey, this doesn't work so well for you. It worked a little bit. It met the need, but this one makes more money. And when I began to go here and I began to go there, then I began to make money with less effort, more money, less effort, right? And then I began to have what I like to call some breathing room. I began to have some left at the end of my day. And some of you today, you just need some left at the end of your day. And the things that I'm teaching you in these Thursday night classes, they will give you that breathing room so that you can begin to focus on your dream, so that you can go after the things that are really, so you can even get in touch with what it is on your heart. Ooh, some of us don't even know what we want. I know I didn't. All right. Let me get back into this because I can feel myself getting stirred up, y'all. And it's so precious to me, and it's so important to me. That's why they say you got to come up with a big why. And my big why right now is to make sure that I am a vehicle through which the Lord can change communities. Not only through the gospel, which I am called to preach, but also through financial empowerment, which he has talented and gifted me to do. So you see here, this is Renaissance Academy in Baltimore, in the zip code of my house, which is this one back here, my little house that was my first pride and joy of my own something that I had building my life back after my divorce. My goal now is to change communities. And here's the thing: when you help women, when you empower women, the women begin to empower the community. The women begin to unlock the community. What do they say? Men make the community strong, but women make it work. And so I'm helping people help people. And that is what I'm called to do. All right. So let's go ahead and start with a little bit of real estate foundation. One of the things that I love about real estate as a financial planner is that there's so many different ways to profit from real estate. Now, I have people who have profited. I've had clients that make, $100,000 a month on Amazon. I've had clients that make $50,000 a month on eBay. I've had clients that they make this or that and the other with their speaking on TV and their coaching and their politicking and these different things that they do, right? Like I've had people that make a lot of money doing a lot of things, but not everybody can make a lot of money doing all those things. So as a financial planner, I can't recommend all those things to you because I don't know if your personality is going to work for that. If you've got that personality to bring people in and you can really nurture them and help them change their lives, well, you might be a great fit for a network marketing opportunity. If you're somebody that's really into the analysis and the numbers and you really just want to crunch the data and make sure everything's right, well, that may not be the right fit for you unless you're willing to put in the work. But I can't recommend all of these different things that my clients do. But one thing universally that my clients can do when they are short on time and have big money goals, and that is real estate. And there's lots of different ways to profit in real estate, even if you never touch tenants and toilets. All right. So let's talk about some of those ways. Okay. So here I've got a list of many ways to profit in real estate. And over here I have shaded, make sure y'all can see that slide. I have shaded the ones that you can get started with without buying the property. You can make money. Technically, you can make money with land too, but I'm going to pull that under. I'm going to pull that one under deal making, okay? Because you're not actually buying, you're not actually developing the land. You're facilitating the deal, all right? And these ones here on the shaded in green, these are the ones you can get started with no money. You hear that? You can get started with no money. You can make money bird dogging, wholesaling, working a lease to own property, making deals, bringing two people together that have a common goal, and getting compensated for your ability to connect, foreclosure consulting, working subject to, being a virtual assistant, or providing ancillary services. And you can get started in all of that ASAP tonight without even having to spend any money. So I have found that real estate is a very successful endeavor to those who are willing to work it if they follow the number one rule of real estate, which is you make your money when you buy. I should have asked, because so many of people here have been through this section before, but you make your money when you buy. And go ahead and type it for me in the chat, y'all. You make your money when you buy. This is the number one rule of real estate. We're not making our money hoping down in the future it's going to appreciate, it's going to do this and do that. No, the day we sign on the dotted line, that property is already a money maker. And if we're not buying it, we're making sure that it is for anybody else that we're working with, because a property at 70 to 80% cost of value is going to make you money, whether you keep it or you hand it over to another investor who actually buys it. And this is a very simple rule to live by: make your money when you buy. But it's not that easy. I mean, come on. If it was easy, it'd kind of be like losing weight, right? Losing weight is simple. It's not easy. Building wealth in real estate is simple. It's not easy. If it was, everybody would be rich. And we're not all rich. So we got to start somewhere. And this is my time money continuum. I know the slide's a little bit outdated. All right, the slide's a little bit outdated there, but the problem is I don't want to go through the effort of trademarking a new site. so I'm gonna get a call from my lawyer friend on that. But this is the time money continuum, and there's different ways to invest in real estate, and so basically what's happening in this sphere of space. You have some investors that have more time and less money. They have more time to do research. They have more time to find properties. They have more time to talk to homeowners. They have more time to lock down deals. Then you have investors who have a lot of money, but they don't have the time to put the boots on the ground, or they don't have the ability to get into those neighborhoods. Okay. So those people have a meeting of the mind. You have more time than money. You start over here on the bird dogging, wholesaling, and lease to own side. You provide a value to the investor who has more money than time. They're buying the apartments. They're doing the private lending. They're doing the commercial. Everybody's doing residential on this chart, and you're getting compensated for your time. All right. So we want to make sure that we're getting compensated for our time. Now, I have already this year talked about bird dogging, wholesaling. We did flipping. We've done tax liens. We've done foreclosures. Okay. What we're talking about is creative financing, and that allows us to acquire property without any actual outlay of getting a loan. That's not really what I want to say. Traditional financing is when you go to a bank and buy the money. Creative financing is every other possible way you could possibly buy a house. And there are so many different ways that you could buy a house, okay? The reason you need alternate ways, and this slide, it might even be up to 60 days now, is because banks, first of all, they're slow in getting deals done. And a lot of the most juiciest, best deals, they got to happen pretty quick when you find them, because if you don't move quick, another investor who has cash will. Another reason why you want creative financing is because after you've got so many properties, the banks don't really like to keep lending to you until you've had a very successful legacy of constant constant tax returns, showing that your real estate business is a real estate business and not a real estate hobby. All right. Okay. Another reason you need creative financing is because banks kind of pull back on lending. The interest rates start to go up. Oh, what are we seeing right now? Interest rates are starting to go up, and it's going to be more difficult to get loans in some areas as things begin to crash. And that's where the best deals are. All right. So, and the crashes happen for different reasons. I shouldn't use the word crash. That's inflammatory language. I should use correction, or go down, or something more, less alarming than that. But they're predicting, a lot of people are predicting, nobody knows, but a lot of people are predicting a real estate slump, a serious real estate slump coming. And so we're starting to see some price correction in some markets as we speak. So I know last year, a lot of people were selling off their properties because the market was going up, up, up. Pent up demand from the pandemic, people needing to get out from underneath these properties, and it was just a buyer's market, and then it was a seller's market, and it's just pooh. Well, now things are starting to correct, and some people who sold their houses are very, very happy they did. Other people are in markets that didn't correct, and they're like, wow, how did my house double in value in just 5 years? Well, let's just wait and see what happens. But because the market is so volatile, that's why you got to have creative financing strategies in your back pocket. Another reason that's really important to have creative financing is because when you go to conduct a deal, the banks want you to have skin in the game. They want you to put money down. And they want to make sure, see, they don't just want you to show up with some money. Now, look, they don't just want you to show up with money. You don't just show up with $20,000. Look, I got my $20,000 down. If your bank account and your pay stubs and all that stuff doesn't look like you'd be the kind of person that had that money, or you were banking with that bank and they know you didn't have no $20,000 in your savings account, they want to know where that money came from. they want to know where that money came from. Okay, so they do their digging. All right, so banks want you to have skin in the game, and I mean, to be honest, I kind of do too, because I feel like we make smarter decisions when we have some skin in the game. But I want you to understand that there's a lot of reasons why people can't just take a traditional loan to buy property. I personally, again, there are a lot of people who've done it this way, and I know personally have made money, but I know exponentially more people who've lost everything by taking loan after loan after loan after loan, which is why I don't recommend taking loans for investments. If you bought into crypto back when I bought into crypto and you were all excited about all the money you're making, and now you realize you can't get your money out, or the exchange that you're on has disappeared, or the value of the coin you're trying to transition to has skyrocketed because everybody's trying to pull their money out, you will understand why I say don't borrow to invest, and don't invest with money you. So there's different kinds of ways that you can invest in creative financing. I am going to go through these in just a second, but let me take a little pause. Let me check with my peeps on the free conference call. My attendees, thank y'all for being on. I love it. I love it. Look, I'm going to keep doing free conference calls as long as somebody's still showing up. I'm going to keep doing it, but I don't see any hands raised there. Let me check the chat and see if anybody needed a question on that. I don't see it yet. So we're going to continue on. There are a million different ways. Let me turn my little me off there so you can see that. There are a million different ways to creatively finance. This is just some of the more common ones. Now, you do see there that I've got the donation. If you want me to actually send you the slide deck, go ahead and drop a donation for our Global Youth Initiative, and I will go ahead and send that to you when I close things out tonight or tomorrow morning at the very least. Depends on how many questions y'all ask today, because I'm going to stay until the last question is answered. So what I've got here are the different types of ways that we're going to cover tonight. I am not going into detail about all of these, okay? Because like I said, I've been burned by debt in real estate. While I know people have been very successful, some of them are on the call today. I know some people have been successful in real estate, but I have seen more of my clients not do well with debt. I'm going to touch on them because I feel like I need to give you a complete education, but then I'm going to spend my time talking about the three at the top, which are land contracts, lease options, and subject to. But I am going to cover all the rest of these. And again, these are just some of the more common ones you're going to hear about at a real estate investor meeting. This is not the be all and end all. Creative financing, remember, our definition we're working with tonight is that creative financing is anything that is not a traditional bank loan. All right. So let's go ahead and get into it. Land contracts, again, land contract, lease option, and subject to. I've got more slides on each of these three, so don't worry if I go a little fast. All right. Land contract basically is seller financing. The seller is acting like the bank. Lease option is where you pay a fee for a right to buy a property later on. You're hearing a lot in the stock market about options and options trading and things like that. And it's a very interesting protective strategy. It's a very similar concept with real estate. You're paying an option fee to lock in a future price. If the price of the house tanks, well, you don't have to buy the house. If the price of the house goes up, you just got yourself a great deal. We'll talk more about that in a few slides. Subject to is one of my favorite things. It's the one I'm working with most right now. And that is where you take over the seller's loan. We're going to talk in more detail about why someone would even do that, y'all, because it just doesn't seem to make any sense when you have your bills paid. But when you get in a situation, you're going to wish somebody could take over that loan. And that's where your friendly neighborhood, JJ Conway, and other investors who've been trained by her will come in and help you with a win-win-win solution. Another form of creative financing is private lending. This is where the mortgage is held by a private individual or somebody that's not a bank. So land contract is seller financing. Private lender, I could use my self-directed IRA and hold the note for your property that you're working on, or I could, come in partnership or do some creative stuff. A lot of times you're going to hear private money lenders at your real estate investment meetings call themselves hard money lenders. They are a specific type of private lender. They are going to offer you a short-term, high interest rate loan to be able to get the property quickly, turn it around with a rehab, and then get it back out on the market as quick as possible. Simultaneous closing is not really a type of financing, but it's something you do when you're sometimes when you're financing, is when you are buying the house from one party, you are selling it to another, and you close at the same time to collect your spread. That is a little bit less common in the markets that I'm working on than it was when I first got started in real estate. But basically, it's a way to not have to show up with a lot of money to the table if you've promised one party this and the other party's paying you that. The title company, they still spread it out a little bit now, but basically both transactions are conducted in the same kind of time period within an hour or so of each other, and boom, you walk away with your check. A short sale is another interesting thing. This is where a property has an amount owed on it. You convince the bank to take less than what's owed. This is not necessarily a debt strategy, but it is definitely not one of my favorites, because short sales take a lot of persistence, and they take a lot of details, and they take a lot of paperwork. And while JJ Conway has a lot of persistence, I'm not going to give up. I do not like a whole lot of paperwork. I mean, them real estate contracts and everything else, that's enough as it is. And I'm not trying to add any extra to that. And I'm not trying to reach out to you every single month over and over and over and over again. It is just not my world. So there's people who are good at that. And if it's something you're interested in, I can find a way to connect you with some of them. All right. Cash out refi. Wow, you know what? These are really not. Did I have the right slide? Hold on. I hate to do that because I feel like I was doing such a good. Yeah, I got them on here. All right. All right. Cash out refi is a type of closing where you're basically refinancing and you're taking your cash out. I am going to have to edit these slides because that's not really creative financing. You usually do that through a bank. Okay. But this is what got us in trouble. You cash out refi one property, take that money and that equity, throw it at another property, fix that property around, cash out refi that property, throw that equity at another property, and you daisy chain properties together until, and so it's a great way to get started when all you have is the equity in your own home. Great way to get started till the market crashes in 2008 or 9 or whenever that was, and all of a sudden your own home that you paid $405,000 for is only worth $180,000, but yet you pulled all the equity out so you could buy real estate. Yay, JJ. Don't do that, y'all. All right. Self-directed IRAs. Now this is something I love. You know, I find it very interesting that the Bible tells us we shouldn't be borrowers. It's not recommended to be borrowers. It's not labeled as sin, but it's recommended you don't borrow. But then it gives you guidelines, like if you're going to lend to somebody, here's how to not take advantage of them. So I'm supposing that it's not sin either to lend. I had to go to prayer about that, y'all. I had to go to prayer about that. Self-directed IRAs is where you can use your IRA to buy property and finance the acquisition, the refurbishment, and the profiting of these properties. And the cool thing about using your self-directed IRA, did a whole class on this a month or two ago, is everything that you're doing in it, if it's a Roth IRA, Roth self-directed IRA, oh, guess what? Tax-free, baby. I like tax-free. Look, I'm trying to keep all my coins. All right. And the last one I have on this list, and I love this, I think it's Chris Latchkey, I think, is who came up with this, the power of zero, where you are saying, okay, fine, you want to charge $20,000 more for your property. I'll pay it for you if you give me 0% interest, or if you give me these terms, or if you give me what I want. And so I love the idea of being creative in structuring your deal. But what I really want to talk about with you today is I really want to talk about with you some strategies that work. And I also want to make sure that when you go to a real estate investment group, that you are going in looking informed. So a lot of people talk about creative financing being house hacking, whether they're renting out the rooms or buying a duplex and renting out the other side. That's not really creative financing. The financing is how you acquire it. Okay. Creative financing is also not going to your realtor and your realtor says, oh, you're a first-time home buyer. Hey, we've got this program, this FHA program, or maybe you're military, you've got your veterans, you got your VA loan, the VA backs a loan, so you can come in with zero down. You know, that's not a creative financing. It might feel like creative financing, But boy, when you realize you have to pay more for a house when you go through these methods, it's not going to feel so creative in the end. But it's really not creative financing. Those are governmental structures designed to help people become homeowners that otherwise wouldn't be able to become homeowners. And y'all have been with me long enough to know, I know we have some new people on today, but most of y'all have been with me long enough to know, my thing is, if you can't afford to be a homeowner, you probably ought not be a homeowner. And if you can't afford to be an investor, you ought to focus on getting to the point where you can afford that. All right. You got your savings, you've got your debt paid off, and now you're ready to invest. All right. Also, the second mortgage trick. I remember when this was a big thing. That is not creative financing. And what the second mortgage trick is, when you get a loan, let me explain this trick. When you get a loan for a house, the bank insurance policy will only pay them for 80% of that loan. So what they make you do is they make you buy gap insurance, private mortgage insurance that covers that extra 20%. Or you have to put a 20% down payment. This is why 20% is the magic number, right? Well, what some banks do is they say, well, we really want your business and we understand you don't want to pay PMI because it's an extra crazy fee every month. So here's what we're going to do for you. We're going to give you the regular 80% mortgage, and then we're going to tack on a home equity line or some other creative product that's going to be a second mortgage. So on paper, it doesn't look like you need to pay PMI and we still get all our money if you default on the loan. Okay. That's not creative finance. All right. All right. Foreclosure consulting or anything where you're creatively acquiring the properties. There's a difference between how we're acquiring it to how we're financing it. Financing is how you're paying for it. All right. Okay. I think I've covered that well enough. Let's move into the juicy stuff. Okay. Land contract is where the seller is financing. So like I said before, the seller is acting like the bank. Why would a seller act like a bank? Well, the seller knows, and this is something that I have found in my real estate journey, the seller knows that if you are having a tough time with your credit, or you're having a tough situation, or your ex is somebody who doesn't pay their bills, and so you will never, ever, ever, ever be able to go get a traditional loan from a bank for anything anymore, because you're so tied to that person with all the other stuff that they had, right? um, then the seller knows that you will be grateful and a great person to live in that property, and you will pay them for life because you are so happy to be able to achieve the American dream. All right. So that's one of many reasons. It's the one that's the most personal to me, right? It's the one that's the most personal to me, but there are many, many reasons. And a lot of sellers know that they can attract higher paying clients by offering to hold the mortgage for them. It's also an effective strategy in states that don't allow you to do lease options the way that we used to be able to do. A land contract can also be sandwiched. So let me show you what that would look like. Okay. I should have probably, in retrospect, I probably should have just shown you a plain slide, but I think you get the idea. So in this case, you, Miss Investor, Mr. Investor, whoever you are, we're going to represent her by the young lady in the middle. You found a wonderful house. You have agreed with the owner that you're going to pay him $500 a month to buy his house. He is giving you a mortgage. I'm sorry, I really messed that up. Whatever it is, the price you've agreed to, in this case, to buy the house, he has calculated it and you are paying him $500 a month on your mortgage. He is acting like the bank. If he's smart, he has done what a lot of investors get in trouble because they don't do. If he's smart, or if he's in a state like Texas, which really, really requires it, he has gone through a loan originator that will have you go through and fill out the profile and be qualified, like legit qualified to take on this loan. And they will service that loan for you or for him. They will service that loan for him. You will pay them and they will pay him. Okay. So that's a protective function. And even if you have them pay you directly, I encourage you to go to one of these RMLOs. What is it called? It's something loan originator, but basically you don't come to me and apply for the loan. You go through this person who applies for the loan on your behalf. I mean, you apply for the loan through this formal person who's been trained and vetted by the state, and they manage the processing of whether or not you qualify to buy my property on a land contract. Okay. And so once you buy the property, let me put the slide back up. Once you buy the property, you're paying him. It's your property. So guess what you could do, Ms. Investor? You can turn around and sell it to somebody else. Now your buyer is paying you for the right to buy this property. Now, if you are in a state that has a little bit of difficulty executing the contracts, you will have to be very creative about how you do this and how the people's names are put on the deed. But in this situation, you are already profiting $500 a month minus expenses. You're buying the property from this guy. This gal's buying the property from you. Now, I will tell you today, I am not going to land contract sandwich because I live in a state where you have to go through one of those loan originator type folks. Now I don't know all the official terms. I'm still learning how Texas works, but I can't do this on my own the way I used to could when I first came into real estate. So this is why at the end I'm going to tell you how to get in contact with local real estate investors. You want to understand what the local rules are, but that's land contract sandwiching. You get the profit, and then there's some ways that you can you can minimize your expenses. We are not going to do a discussion today because that's part of the workshop. This is a slide that I forgot to hide from the detailed workshop. But I want to show you why this works, okay? This guy wins. This guy who originally owned the house wins. He gets oh, 250. That should be 500. He gets 500 a month. And he doesn't have any more headaches, right? And so and actually, if y'all, this can be stacked so many ways. He might even have a mortgage against that property. Do this, he might have, that's probably why I put 250. He might have a mortgage on that property for 250. You're paying him 500 a month. He's got 250 in his pocket. He's happy. He doesn't have any more headaches because you buying the house. You're not renting the house. You buying the house. So guess what, homeowner? You're responsible for all the repairs. But guess what you do? Because you're not just a homeowner, you are a savvy investor. You find somebody else to buy the property. They pay you double what you paying him. Now your profit is 500 a month minus expenses, and you can lower those expenses by telling her, hey, you're achieving the American dream. Now you are buying this house. She gets a nice house, even though she's got bad credit, had a poor ex-husband that don't pay his bills, and is trying to live and rebuild a life for her and her kid. All right. So it's a win-win-win all the way through. All right. The next one I want to talk about, and again, this is something you got to be careful about depending on your state. Texas has a new rule regarding this. I'll explain that a little bit later, is the lease option. Okay. So the lease option, if you'll remember from my overview, the lease option is where you, that's another typo. You know, I'm just gonna have to correct that one on the fly. Hold on. Or I can just do buyer pays an option fee. I'm sorry, y'all. Some things, you know, some typos I can just let slide, but we're not going to do that today. Because I guarantee, oh, I forgot to turn the slide back on. Oops, you didn't even see it. Okay, hold on. Let me share it back. Share screen. Oh, maybe you did. Maybe you did. Maybe when I did that, it cut off. So if I don't fix that, I'm gonna send y'all the slides and it's gonna be wrong, and I'm gonna forget that I need to make that correction. That's a pretty big one. You know, a little typo, whatever. You can listen to the recording, and hey, I already gave you my disclaimer. If I make a mistake, you can't sue me because I already told you don't sue me. Go get your own counsel. All right, I'm sorry. I'm my friend the other day, she's like, I can tell when you didn't get enough sleep. Ooh, we were so excited planning our trip, y'all. I'm so excited. I'll tell you about that. I'll tell you about that at the end of class. So the buyer pays an option fee to lock in a future price. The buyer pays an option fee for the right to buy this property at some price that you are agreeing to today, but does not have to be paid until the future. You can use this strategy in just about any kind of real estate product, residential or commercial, that you might be interested in buying. You can also sandwich a lease option. And so I've got a little illustration of how that works here. Okay, so we've got our investor and our Mr. Homeowner here. I'm going to rent. That's not me. That's never been me. I have never been that tiny, even when I was in high school. I'm going to rent. The investor is going to rent this house at $500 a month. She is going to pay Mr. Seller $1,000 option fee for the right to buy it next year at $100,000. Or if her credit is not good enough, she can have it in 2 years for $120,000. Okay. And so what happens here is she is renting. She does not own the house. Her name is not on the deed. She is renting the house, but she has a legal interest in the property because she now, if she's smart enough to record this down at the courthouse, she has an interest in the property because she has the right to buy the property either for $100,000 in a year or $120,000 in 2 years. Well, if 2 years comes from now and the property has not appreciated in value, and even though she worked hard and got her credit up, the bank won't give her but $80,000 to buy it, she can either renegotiate with the guy to come down on the price, or she can walk away. She doesn't have to buy the house. His compensation for her not buying the house is that $1,000 she paid at the beginning of the agreement that said, I'm going to rent this place for $500 a month and I'm paying you $1,000 for the right to buy this house at a predetermined price later on in the future. Okay, so you can sandwich this. All right, let me show you what it looks like sandwiched. Okay, investor is now renting the house at $500 a month from the original owner. The investor has paid the original owner $1,000 for the right to buy this property next year for $100,000. I'm going to be working on my credit. I'm going to be helping, I'm going to try to improve my credit score. I'm going to pay all my bills on time. And next year I should be able to buy this property. Okay. I wouldn't say that if that's not really true. I would just, I wouldn't lie. I've worked with some investors who have really lied to some homeowners, and I really don't recommend that. But anyway, this savvy investor knows that this property is a great property at $500 a month, but she knows that she can get more out of this property because she has a network full of moms, or a network full of widows, or a network full of, I don't know, young military, or a network full of fill in the blank who really, really, really want to buy a house, but they're having trouble buying a house. So here's the deal she offers to her network. You can buy this house. If you can't afford to buy it today, you can rent it for $1,000 a month, still within market rent for this neighborhood. You can rent it for $1,000 a month. Mr. Seller did not do enough research to know he could have gotten more than 500. That is not investor's fault, okay? Because I don't believe in cheating people, but I don't believe in compensating for their failure to do their work, all right? So what her offer is, rent this house for $1,000 a month. Take the time you need to get your credit together. Give me a $3,000 option fee for the right to buy it next year for $110,000. Look at what has happened here in this situation. Okay. This guy's got money in his pocket. He doesn't have headaches because guess what? He's renting the home, but because you're intending to buy it, now you're treating it more like a property you own and less like a property you're renting, even though you are technically renting, right? Plus, he got an extra $1,000 in his pocket for doing nothing else but agreeing to sell it later. And in his mind, hey, I'll take that later because the house is only worth 90 now. I hope it's worth 100 next year. And if it is, great. The investor gets a win because now they get a $500 a month spread on this arrangement, plus a difference of $3,000 minus $1,000 equals $2,000. So from day one, this investor has $2,000 extra dollars in their pocket, $500 a month promised to them for the next year. Plus, if they close it at the agreed upon amounts, the person who's renting it from her is paying $110,000, and the person she's agreed to buy it from is expecting only $100,000. That is a $10,000 spread at closing next year. Don't tell me you can't find a way to make money in real estate when you don't have any money in your pocket. You see how this works? Let me put it back up. There is always a way. There's always a way. If the Lord has called you to something, he will always make the way for you. If it comes to your awareness, it won't even, how do I want to say that? It won't even come to your awareness if there wasn't a way. If it wasn't possible for you to achieve your dream, the dream wouldn't come to you. It would go to somebody else who has the ability to execute. What kind of God would send you a dream that you can never get? That would be torture. And my God is a God of love. Ooh, I'm going to start preaching tonight. All right. But I want you to take another look at this, okay? Take another look at this. The original owner has more money in his pocket. He doesn't have to worry about this house as much because even though it's renting, it's being rented by someone who's intending to buy it. The investor has pocketed two spreads. They got the spread of the option fee between what they promised the guy and what the single mom has given her. And then they've got the spread at closing next year if the single mom actually gets her credit together and buys the property. So now single mom gets to achieve her dream of home ownership while rebuilding her bad credit. And then when everything's done, she doesn't even care if it's market value. I mean, if she has to get a loan, it better be market value or the bank's not going to give her a going to give her a loan. But she's just so happy to have a house, y'all. And I don't know if you've ever been in that situation. When I bought that little $3,000 property in Baltimore City, I was just so happy to have something that was mine. I paid $3,000 to that house, and I paid another $3,000 to Alan Shanker, the guy who found me that house. He was a wholesaler. It was a wholesale deal that came through. And I didn't have any problem with that because it was mine. And so don't ever wonder about somebody's reasons as to why they would do this. Just work that win-win-win solution and help a lot of people, like David Meltzer says, help a lot of people, have a lot of fun, and make a lot of money. All right. So that is the lease option. Now, I did say I would mention something about Texas. In Texas, the rules have changed. If you lease option a property, which means you have given them the option that they can buy the property, they have to be on the deed in 6 months. Now, how that plays out, what the language has to be, whether they're part owner or this or that or the other, I will leave that to the legal folks. But basically, where the people that are investing where I am and the style that I'm going to be investing are not really using this option unless they're using a 6-month lease. Which in my opinion, if you can't buy the house now, it's pretty unlikely you're going to buy it in a year. And it's definitely unlikely you're going to buy it in 6 months, which I think is kind of why Texas has been cracking down on it. All right. So that's lease options. But still, if it works in your state, is a very, very powerful strategy. All right. Subject 2. I hope somebody has researched RMLO and can put that in there, put that in the chat for me. Subject 2, this is one of my favorite things right now. I was working some subject 2 deals in Louisiana. Then I moved to Texas. And as many of you know, I have not been doing any investing in Texas. I've been taking this time to, 1, work on my doctorate, and 2, just kind of learn the lay of the land, understand who's actually investing out here, what kind of properties I could find for them, and, just kind of figuring out how things work. Every jurisdiction has a different way that it works. And in some places that you live, like where I am in Erath County, there's so few deals that you don't have a whole lot of RIA group activity down here. So I go to a group and I'm learning about Texas, but it's not the particulars of where I'm at. And look, y'all, I'm done with all these properties all over the nation. I'm selling them things off. Y'all in Maryland, you want a rental property, you want a cash flowing rental property, I will give you a fair price. Now, look, I'm not going to cut my legs off. All right. We're not going to do that. It's going to be a win-win-win, right? But I will give you a fair price. You want property in Baltimore City. You want property in Brandywine, Maryland. You want property in Alexandria, Virginia. You want property in Louisiana. You want property up in Blanchard. You want property in North Bossier. I'm all done with my Shreveport properties. Praise the Lord. That was the most ridiculous jurisdiction I've ever invested in, and I will never do that again unless I'm buying complete cash, not percent ownerships. When you buy a tax certificate in Louisiana, you're buying percent ownerships, and so it's a very interesting journey. If you have not listened to the tax certificate class, the tax sales class, the tax lien class, I go through all different kinds of tax sales, including Louisiana, which is the only state that has tax certificates. But I digress. So I have not done these deals. So what I'm going to show you as the examples is what I was working before I moved here. And then I let those deals slip away, but they were in the palm of my hands. Okay. So I don't want to pretend today, but I do want you to understand that I took a strategic pause so I could learn what I'm doing and make strategic and smart moves with my money. But now that I'm starting back up, I'm actually going to give you an opportunity to look over my shoulder so that you can learn from my experience without having to spend the money yourself on the property. All right, subject two. Subject to comes from the fact that you are buying this property subject to the original loan. You are taking over the seller's loan. This is different from a loan assumption. You don't see it as often, but when I first bought my first property, you saw it all the time. VA assumable loan, assumable loan, assumable loan. That's because the interest rates were so high back then that if you had a lower interest rate on your property, it was very attractive to people who wanted to buy your property and be able to take over that loan. What you would have to do, though, is you would have to pay the owner for the rest of the equity. You'd have to bring that money to the table. So assumable loan is not the same thing as subject to. Subject to is I am basically taking over your loan. It stays in your name and it's an account tied to your social security and to your debt profile. I'm just taking over your payments, and I am taking over your payments until such time as I can stabilize the house and sell it. Okay, or refinance it if that's what I want to do as a investor. Sometimes you might have the cash to close on a deal, but you might make a decision to just take over the loan if that's something that they're interested in, because maybe there's not a whole lot of equity there and you want to see if you're going to be able to get good tenants and you're going to be able to stabilize the property, because you never know what's going to happen when you start tearing down walls and rehabbing. Like, you just don't know until you do it, right? So in subject to, you are taking over the seller's loan. You are not putting yourself on their loan. You are just taking over their payments. The loan is still in their names. Now, in some subject to deals, you might have to pay an additional fee. In some subject to deals, you might not. The whole reason that somebody might want to do this is because they are under some kind of stress that all they want is, will you please, please, please take this property off my hands? Okay. And so whatever that stressor is, most of the time people are going to want to just get out of the situation and get out from under the pressure as soon as possible. And you can offer a win-win solution by coming in and helping them. Okay. So why on earth would someone just let you take over their loan when they could sell their property? Well, sometimes you can't sell the property. Okay, so for example, the two that I'm going to show you today are two where we just couldn't sell the property. So this is my dad's house in Wilkes-Barre, PA. It grieves my heart that the bank wouldn't let us turn in the keys, and because when you're an out-of-state heir, Luzerne County requires you to pay like $5,000 to $10,000 to become the executor of the estate. Well, me and my younger sister and brother, we couldn't. We could have, but look, I'm not going to pay $10,000 to be made executor of somebody's estate that's over leveraged, in a lot of debt, and didn't have anything. My father had a lot of love. And my father did a lot of good for a lot of people. And I know because they still email me about it. They still send me pictures of the flowers that he planted for them. They still send me pictures of the vehicle that he helped them with, or the shed that he built for them. Like, they still send me and pour into my life to honor his memory. So I know he had a big heart, but he didn't have a good bank account, because his big heart, he was always giving money away. All right. And so, yeah, I wasn't going to pay $10,000 or $5,000 or whatever it was to become executor of that estate. He didn't have nothing to give us. And I don't say that in a bad way. My dad had some experiences in life. And when he died, he was in the process of improving his life. And to me, it's a very inspiring story. I will tell you more about him some other time. So I don't mean that in any disrespectful way. But when you're climbing out, if you haven't finished your climb yet and there's nothing there to worth it, it wasn't worth it. And so because none of us were executor, we couldn't give the keys back. The bank wouldn't even talk to us. So now they're selling it. Well, had I lived up that way, because the property needed a significant amount of repair and it was over leveraged. He owed like $85,000 and the property itself was only worth about 50. So this is why none of us wanted to become executor, because like, what are we for, right? And so the because it was so over leveraged that you weren't going to be able to sell this property, and until somebody was named an executor, then nobody was going to be able to do something with it. It's just going to sit there. And eventually it's going to get sold at a tax sale. It's going to either get foreclosed on or it's going to get sold at a tax sale. And that's how it's going to go. And I actually hope that our neighbor, that some of Dad's friends or neighbors or somebody goes in there and gets that property at pennies on the dollar, because the bank wouldn't work with us. Right. But had I lived up there, I would have loved for an investor to come in. The property was over leveraged by $30,000. So you can't sell it, but somebody could come in and take ownership of the property, not ownership. Somebody could come in and take, what is it called? You have use of the property. There's a phrase for it. If y'all know it, drop it in the chat. So you can own a property or you can control a property. So you can own the property, but you could be the person that doesn't own it, but you could control the property, right? And so in this case, we would have probably let somebody come in and take over the loan. And then once all the dust settled on the estate and getting somebody named as an executor and doing this and this and that and the other, then they could have bought the house. Okay. So this is not the cleanest example, but I just wanted to give you a real life example of if somebody who would have been like, please just take it. None of us lived. I mean, my oldest brother lives nearby, but he wasn't in a state to be able to come out here. And he and my dad had just started rebuilding their relationship. So, that was a whole nother situation. But, we're in different states. How are we going to manage this? Come take it. And I have seen this happen over and over where people died with property and it's just nobody wants it. Nobody wants it. They just, you know what, here, just take it. It's going to cost too much to fix it up. It's over leveraged. I can't sell it. Just take it. Okay. Now that I look at it, I probably should have used this example. I thought it would be nice because it was real life. And it was something that had I been in the area, I would have actually worked with a local investor to do. This one, y'all may have seen me post on, my Facebook channel. I was so excited about this little church, y'all. This is a 5,000 square foot facility in Blanchard, which was a little ways from where I was in North Bossier. It was about a 30-minute drive, but it was a nice little building. Like I said, 5,000 square foot. It had two separate sections, a new section, an old section. It was on 2 acres. And when I first saw this, it was actually sent to me by a realtor in that area, and they were asking $160,000 for it. They were asking $160,000 for it. Wait, do I have that on another slide? Oh, I do. Okay. So they were asking $160,000 for it based on what they had paid for it. And plus the property next to it was the parsonage, and they bought the whole thing for a particular price, for $140,000. And so they weren't able to sell it at $160,000, but they were able to partition off the parsonage from the church, and they sold the parsonage for whatever they sold it to, and no one would buy the church. And so the next time I see this church show up in my inbox was 2019. Now it comes to me through a wholesaler. Well, it's $51,000. And I have a church in Bossier City. I don't have a church in Blanchard. I got a little kid and I just had a car accident I'm trying to climb out of. I'm not trying to have no church in no Blanchard, even if it's only 30 miles away. At that time in my life, 30 miles was pretty hard for me to drive because I was still recovering. And so that's a whole nother story. If you have something that keeps you from driving, you have a bad accident or something like that, please don't suffer alone. Talk to me and I'll show you. I'll show you a video of how I got out of that. Okay. Not even gonna have to cost you anything. It's out there free on my Vimeo channel. All right. So it came back to me and I wasn't interested because I had my church in the mall and I liked being in the mall. It was a great location. And, sometimes you make business decisions based on safety. So the mall wasn't necessarily the nicest facility in the world, but the people there liked us. We put on a lot of events in the mall, a lot of outreach events in the mall, a lot of global youth initiatives and summer job festivals and career college fairs and all these things that we put on in the mall. I mean, it's actually kind of cool when you think about it. The back to school drives and all these things that we did. And it was safe. It was safe for a mom with a young baby who's been in and out of the hospital, me and the little and the cubby, and my husband in another state. So I wasn't trying to move. Well, then in 2020, it comes back to me again through another wholesaler. Like, hey, these people just want somebody to take over their loan. And so when I go and research on it, I find out what the price is and we start negotiating. And the negotiations spill over into 2021. And I was like, look, this property is going to need too much work. And I'm not willing to just take over your loan because I've decided to move to Texas. And, originally I was trying to stay in the Shreveport area, but because I was involved in the community and, you just don't give that up easy. But we had made the decision that I was going to stay in Texas. And so I was like, well, this is too much for me to do what we were originally thinking of doing. And so then they were like, well, what would you pay for it? And I didn't put it on the slide, did I? Oh yeah, I did. I put it on the next slide. So if you were watching, you saw it. If you're listening on free conference call, you didn't see it. I'll get to that point in the story. They asked me what would I pay. I told them what they paid, and they're like, well, we'll contact you again when we pay it down to that amount. Okay. Some of the problems with this church is that they overpaid for the property. And I wondered to myself, how on earth did two very intelligent people, I mean, just talking to them, you could see that they were intelligent and they had the love of God. How did somebody who was so intelligent and who just had the love of the Lord really overpay for this property? Well, when they told me the story of how they acquired it, I realized that they had been scammed. And they had been scammed by the not sheriff, they had been scammed by somebody who was not necessarily a Blanchard law official, but somebody who was a law official, either in Shreveport or Mansfield or something like that, that they knew was in with the law, so they trusted them. They also got scammed by the banker who even wrote out this appraisal and this loan, basically to put the money in the lawman's pocket. And if you're a descendant of the people who originally bought this property, I hope you're not getting offended with me right now, but I explained all this very clearly to the current owners. I was like, the problem with this property is it was paid for way more than it was worth, because you've got properties that are, 2 minutes away that are 6 to 8 and 12 acres, and they're asking between 50 to 60,000 with a building on them. Okay. And so at this time, they owed 28,000 on the loan. The building needed about $60,000 of repairs. When I thought I was staying in Louisiana, I was willing to do that. We would just take it over. We would just make them slowly, but now when I'm in Texas and I'm driving back and forth, I don't need a broken building that's not going to work. So I told them that the most I could reasonably pay to take it off their hands would be $15K. And I felt like that was too much, but I just really liked the current owners. And, I would have done it. I really would have. I would have bought it in my self-directed IRA, and we would have slowly fixed it up, and we would have started off with the front part, and we would have used it for events and things whenever I was in town. I probably would have come and taught Bible study once a month or something. Sometimes you do the deal anyway, but in this case, we let it fall through. Why am I walking you through all this on a deal that I didn't do? I want you to understand that this is real life. This isn't something that I just made up so that I could bring you to a seminar and sell you into some ultra high price coaching. Okay. I am going to offer you an opportunity to get real estate coaching with me later. Understand that these are the ins and outs of real estate. And you saw this. Many of you have been following me. You saw us go in there every week. We were filming, we were cleaning. Man, I got so many rodents and other things out. And we really left that property in good condition, but I thought we were going to have it. And I was, even their loan was less than what we were paying for rent in the mall. So, I mean, it wasn't the best price, but I was going to do it. All right. And, but it just fell through. Okay. But I'm showing it to you because people think that these kinds of things can't happen. Okay. And that's a 5,000 square foot commercial property on 2 acres that they were just going to give us to take over the loan. And all they had left was 28,000. Okay. And I was like, why on earth would you ever give away something like this? And they're like, we're older. We live far away now. Our kids aren't interested in driving up there. And I imagine the neighborhood wasn't necessarily friendly, with the whole changes of administration and things like that. A lot of life changed for a lot of people, especially people who look like me. And so, I can imagine that there were some other issues, but I don't want you to think that it can't happen, whether you're looking for a church building or whether you're looking for a retail, whether you're looking for apartment complex, whether you're looking for your own house, y'all, this is an excellent strategy for finding your own house if you're not picky about what it looks like when you first get in there. If somebody asks me, well, how do I use this strategy? How do I use this strategy to get my dream home? I'm like, well, you don't. You use this strategy to get what comes to you. You advertise, you market, you word of mouth, you ask around, you find out who's in financial trouble, you offer to help them out by taking over their loan, and whoever bites, you do it. And eventually you can get some really nice properties. One of the investors I knew who was in Shreveport at the time took over the loan on a 3,000 square foot historic building downtown, and was able to turn that around and sell it and made big money. So there's a lot of these kinds of little opportunities that come along. And if you are going to do something with subject to, though, there's two big must pays you gotta have. One, you gotta make sure that you build a team that you can move fast. And by team, I don't just mean contractors. Okay, it's not just the contractors that you need, but you need the person who can originate the loan. You need the person who can help you service, to put somebody in there after you take over the other loan. You need somebody to execute everything so that you're not left holding the bag. You want everything to be done in decency and in order, okay? The other thing is you want to make sure that you get wait, let me go back to the team. So you're taking over somebody else's loan. Let me see if I can say this correctly, okay? You're taking over somebody else's loan, acquiring the property that way. Okay? You're selling it to somebody else, or you're renting it to somebody else. If you're selling it to somebody else, you might be selling it to them in a state that allows you to do a lease option on the property. You might be selling it to one that doesn't allow you to do lease option. So now you're doing seller finance. You technically own the property. It's with their underlying loan, but you work with a loan professional to structure a loan so that the person who's now going to live in that property is paying you, and you are taking that money they're paying you for their mortgage for the house they're buying from you, and you're applying it to the mortgage of the person who you bought the house from. I know this is getting a little complicated, but it's that sandwich thing again. When you're in a situation like that, you don't want to have to figure all that stuff out and make sure you're correct with all the legalities and all the changing tax laws and all the changing legal codes. You don't want to. No, bring in a professional on your team. They're worth their money. They keep you out of jail. All right. The other thing that's really important is you want to make sure you get all your paperwork signed. And when I'm saying all your paperwork signed before closing, you need all the disclosures. You need to be able to talk to the insurance. You need to be able to talk to the bank. You need to be able to talk to whoever, did the air conditioning 20 years ago and it was their brother's cousin's uncle. You need to have all the paperwork signed that homeowner is selling you this property that you're taking subject to. You got to get all that paperwork together before closing, because here's what's going to happen at closing. And I love the way that Tim Cook explains this when he teaches his real estate investing class. When they get to closing, here's what's going to happen: the pressure's going to be off of them, and they're going to be like, "Woo!" And you might even have put a little money in their pocket. Guess what? They're not thinking about anymore. They are not thinking about you. They're going to be hard to contact. They're going to be hard to get a hold of. When a hailstorm comes, you're going to need to be able to work with them to get a hold of the insurance company, because you didn't do it in the beginning and you didn't change the insurance policy over in the beginning. Oh, you have a hard time finding them. In fact, what you might have happen is they hear about the storm, keep the money, and you left out to dry. So you got to get all that information up front. You got to get your insurance in place and all that stuff right away at closing, but you can't do that till you get all the other information up front. So you want to make sure you have that all at closing. Okay. All right. So how to dig deeper? Well, I should have told Tim I was giving him a shout out. In fact, I'm probably going to text him right now and say, hi, I'm giving you a shout out on my class tonight. If you want to learn more, I've got some options for you, but I'm going to tell you right now, as much as I'd like you to take my options and as much as I enjoy using your money to change communities, I really do think that the best way, let me make sure you can see the slide. Yep. I really do think that the best way to learn how to do these creative strategies is to connect with other real estate investors who are already doing these things. Okay, so I have listed for you a group of the ones that I have personally vetted in different places where I have invested that you might be able to connect with. All right, so what do I mean by real estate investment groups? Real estate investment groups um, Real estate investment groups are collections of investors who come together to learn about how to invest in real estate. You might see the abbreviation REIA, Real Estate Investment Group. Our Real Estate Investment Association, or you might see the phrase REIG, which is Real Estate Investment Group. A lot of real estate investment groups are actually closing down right now. It's really kind of sad because of the way that everything's been going with the pandemic. It takes a lot of money to run one of these groups. And so you have to have people, usually you have to have people pay fees, or you have to have some other way of maintaining the group. Okay. When you connect with a local group, let me see if I can pause the slide here for a second so I can talk to you. When you connect with a local group, sometimes they're going to have a nominal fee like $20 a meeting or $100 a year or something like that. The structure of a real estate investment group or a real estate investment association is they're going to bring in a monthly speaker. That monthly speaker is going to talk about some aspect of real estate. They're going to give you just enough to whet your interest. They're going to sell a class in the back of the room if you want to learn more. So the guy comes in this month, he talks about mobile homes. You want to learn how to build buy and sell mobile homes, how to invest with mobile homes, buy his class in the back of the room. Gal comes in next week, talks about private lending and ATMs. That was one of my most fun courses that I ever bought. Like, I didn't buy it on the spot because I didn't have any money back then. But when I got some money, I was like, I want this ATM class. Oh my goodness, y'all. Somebody else comes in, Mr. Landlord, Jeffrey Taylor. Mr. Landlord comes in and he talks about his landlording. Highly recommend his class and his newsletter, which you can actually go to mrlandlord.com. But he comes in and he talks about being a landlord. He talks about putting together a 5-star or 3-star, whatever. Mine's 5-star, but I got the idea from him. His 5-star residence program, and he talks about how to do that. And if you want to learn more about the actual nitty gritty on how to do that, meet me in the back of the room and buy the class. Right? That's what the cycle is like. But that's the top level of the group. Under the surface, once you've paid to be a member of the group, a good group is going to have educational opportunities that are going to walk you through the localities, the specific issues in your jurisdiction for handling tax liens, tax deeds, tax certificates. How do we do land contracts here? How do we do lease options here? Can we even do that? Can we do foreclosure consulting, or do we live in a state that if you call yourself a foreclosure consultant, you can't buy the house? Now, some states are like that. Maryland was one of them. Okay. So all of these different things go together, and you want to learn from somebody local. But if you are in a place where you don't have anybody local yet, and you live in one of the places I used to live in or where I currently live, I've got some recommendations for you here. Okay. If you don't know where to start it off, you can go out to my YouTube channel. It's YouTube JJ Knows the Way. You can go back and look for the Wholesaling 101 class that we did back in February. That will show you how to find these deals of people who are willing to work creatively so that you can take the property off of their hands. You're creating a win-win. All right. We're not scamming people out of their houses. We're creating win-win solutions. You can also go back to May and you can find my Foreclosure Consulting 101 class. That class will allow you to learn about an additional method of finding creative deals that I didn't go into in the Wholesaling 101. Now, if you are like me and you don't want to sit in front of YouTube, I do have a paid version where all of these classes are stored, and you also get the MP3s and a copy of the slides. If that's something you're interested in, hit me up and I will send you the link to that, okay? But if you are local to Tim Cook, West DFW REI, take his class. If you're out in Virginia, you're Northern Virginia, in the Alexandria area, you're in Franconia, you're out there in that area, go with Tammy Phelps of Capital City REIA. You're out on the Maryland side or the DC side, go with Sherman Ragland, DC Real Investors. All right. I already mentioned Tim here in Fort Worth. You're in the Baltimore. There are two good groups I used to associate. I maintain my membership in Maria because that's such a good group. Alan Shanker and Mary Jo Whalen and Beth and Larry and all of them at Maria, they will take good care of you. BWI is another really good group. They'll take good care of you. You're interested in tax sales? Hit up Ned Carey in that group, all right? In Shreveport, RE360 is an informal group. It's not really got the formal structure. It's just a group of folks having some pizza and talking real estate, right? But I like that kind of group. Like, to me, that's where you get the real deals done, right? Then you've got the Shreveport Bossier Real Estate Investment Association, which brings in speakers and brings in people to help you. It's a fantastic group. I mean, these are all fantastic groups that I can recommend. You want to look for a good group. And if you're not sure what to look for in a good group, go back to my wholesaling 101 or my original real estate 101. And I talk about how to find a good group on your own or what to do if you can't find one. Okay. All right. So from what I'm offering that's not on the website, I am getting ready to start doing deals here in Texas, and I'm going to give you an opportunity to look over my shoulder. You are not going to find this opportunity on my website. And you already know this is for you because the whole time you've been on here, you've been saying, please let her do something where she'll answer my questions. Please let her do something where I can learn about this and I can go on site and look at properties. Please let her do something where she's going to show me real pictures of real properties or something that's more than just this weekly Zoom. All right. So you can go to Calendly/JJ Conway /REI 101, and that will get you the application form. I am not taking everybody into this class. I'm not trying to be funny. I'm not trying to drum up, scarcity, but it's true. I'm not taking everybody in this class. You got to be motivated and you got to be an action taker. You got to answer all the questions and you got to show me that this is something you really want to do because we move it. And when we get together, we're moving and we're making things happen. The calls are going to be over phone, or some might be over Zoom, but a lot of them are going to be on phone, on site, or they'll be me sending pictures and videos of what we did and having a Zoom call to discuss it. Okay. The other thing that I'm offering tonight, and again, the first step to this is filling out the application for REI 101 for the next deal class, is if you are interested in actually partnering with me. Okay. I structure these partnerships a very specific way because I am not a big fan of debt and I'm not going to have your baby suing me if something happens. Okay. So we're going to go in it together. We're going to come out of it together, and we're going to do it a very way. They say that the worst ship in the world is a partnership. So you got to make sure you structure it right. Well, it takes money to structure it right. So I need to make sure that you are serious and that you bring something to the table. Okay. So go ahead and go out to calendly.com/JJ Conway /REI 101 if that's something that you are interested in. But that concludes my lesson for you today. I'm going to do a quick search in the Ask JJC. If you've got a question about what I've covered, you go ahead and put that in the chat. And you know what I'm going to do? Actually, I'm going to go back and I'm going to put that slide. I'm going to put that dig deeper slide so that you can see on there while I'm looking up questions. If you have a question, go ahead and drop it in the chat or go ahead and put it in the Ask JJC. I don't see any questions raised on the free conference call. I will leave you all up while we are while we're talking. I won't end the call till we're done. Let me see what we have in the Ask JJC. Got a couple new responses there. Now, if you asked a question in the Ask JJC and it doesn't relate to real estate tonight, but you asked a general financial question, I will answer that at the appropriate time. So if it's about mindset and empowerment, that'll be next week, our empowered entrepreneur. And then if you ask something, yeah. So I see in here, what I'm seeing is mostly money questions. We will catch those at the next fireside chat. So just to remind everybody of what we do, let's see if I have a screen here for it. Let me see if I have a screen. Sometimes I have the screen. All right. So what we do for now is every Monday every Monday. Oh, I need to eat dinner. Okay. Every first Thursday is our fireside chat. Okay. Every second Thursday is not that. That's a Bible study. Okay, well, that's not working. All right, all right. Well, never mind. I was trying to be all slick, y'all. Look, I'm trying to come up. Can y'all tell I'm trying to come up? All right, let me put that slide back up. Well, every first Thursday is real estate investing. Every first Thursday has been since what, the last 8 years is Fireside Chat. That's where I answer your money questions. Every second Thursday is our 7-figure business building, where we look at tips and tricks and ways for you to build your business, how to get started in your business. Getting started with building a 7-figure business starts one building block at a time. So our classes have been things like how to make your first $1,000 writing a book, how to make your first $1,000 with live events, how to make your first $1,000 with affiliates, things like that. Okay. And so the every third Thursday is real estate. Every fourth Thursday is the empowered entrepreneur. So that's when we're really looking more at mindset. How do you elevate? Because as you elevate, your business elevates. All right. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put that slide back up of the places that I recommend. They are not paying me. I should ask them to pay me, but they are not paying me. But do let them know I sent you, because I want to get the street cred for sending you. All right. Let's see. We have a question here. Is the look over your shoulder 101 virtual or in phone? Well, that's going to depend on where you're at. If you are in Fort Worth, or you can get to Erath County, which is about an hour south of Fort Worth, then there are going to be a lot of in-person opportunities. If you are in any of these markets here where I still have properties, then when I go to visit those properties, those will have in-person opportunities. If you're not near any one of those markets, or if you're in a situation where you are so very busy that you wouldn't be able to break away when I find out 2 days from now that I'm going to have to fly to DC for something, well, then you will end up doing it virtually, which means the sessions will be recorded, the phone calls will be recorded, and all that will be posted so that you can download it and listen to it after the fact. But I always like to, most of it will be virtual, because as far as I know, I don't have a whole lot of audience here in Erath County. Now, that's not saying it won't change by this time next year, but it's taken me a little longer to get established out here where I live right now. So, great question. Thank you so much for that. All right. I don't see any more questions in the Ask JJC. I don't see any hands raised in the free conference call. So I guess we're going to call it a night today. I want to thank you all for being here. Y'all take care and be blessed.